Hello, everybody. I'm Mark Agins with IMAGINiT Technologies, and I will be your host for part 2 of this 3-part webinar series highlighting our Clarity for Revit software and how our clients are benefiting from it. In addition to today's webinar, we will be meeting again next Thursday, March 11th, for our final installment. Before I introduce our guest speaker for today, I'll be showing just a quick 2-minute video to introduce you to both Clarity and HMC architects.
IMAGINiT Clarity is technology purpose-built to enhance your experience working on Revit and BIM 360 projects. Clarity offers AEC firms the opportunity to gain deep project insight, protect model integrity, and collaborate more effectively while regaining hundreds of hours per project per year. Complex workflows and manual repetitive tasks can eat up valuable billable hours. Assign these workflows and tasks to Clarity and quickly see increases to productivity and efficiency. Inflated file sizes from overmodeling or increased warnings can negatively impact the integrity of the model, resulting in lost work and project delays. IMAGINiT Clarity monitors Revit model health, alerting BIM managers to potential issues before they become major problems. Dive into rich BIM data and gain a better understanding of the project. Dashboards, reports, and analytics inside Clarity, along with integrations to business intelligence software, help firms find areas for improvement. Through automation, health metrics, and data analytics, IMAGINiT Clarity helps improve project outcomes, resulting in a better experience for you and your clients. HMC Architects was founded with the purpose of anticipating community needs. HMC aims to create designs that have a positive impact now and into the future. Who would have anticipated that our future included a vast majority of people working remotely? HMC adopted Clarity with the goal of overcoming remote challenges and automating a variety of complex workflows.
Today's subject matters from IMAGINiT include Joe Eichenseer and Matt Mason, who have both been in our industry for over 20 years. After our speaker's presentation, they will be available to address any and all of your technical questions during the Q&A session, as Lori had alluded to. Now, without any further delay, I would like to introduce our guest speaker, Nancy Reyes, Director of BIM Technology at HMC Architects, who will be sharing with us how her team at HMC utilized Clarity to enable remote workflows. Nancy, the floor is yours.
Thanks, Mark. It's really great to be here with you and to sharing HMC's experience in the adoption of Clarity and how it has helped our firm become a little bit more less reliant on people and more reliant on the technology to be able to empower them to do what they do best, which is design and architecture. So a little bit about HMC is we are an architectural firm. We're based out of Ontario, California. We have 3 practices in the firm across all of our offices. So before COVID, we had 7 offices in California and Phoenix, and after that, now we have over 340 offices across California and Phoenix because people are working from home. So as we started moving from an office environment and going into working from home environment, we started to see a greater need to support our staff that don't have printing equipment at home, that can't print large, 30 by 42 or the big size sheets printing, and and also being able to depend on other automations that Clarity provides for us. So with the adoption of Clarity, we were able to provide our teams that are remote with a quicker way to make those automations work, specifically printing, because that was one of the biggest issues that we had. And then as we continued working from home, we had identified a couple other projects that we were able to do with Clarity that allowed us to improve the services that we provide across the company. So I kind of touched about it a little bit on the tipping point, right? So moving from working from home into what the teams are going to be providing now. So one of the things that I wish I would have had at the beginning of the pandemic was the automations to upload models to BIM 360. We actually had to get our team together, our digital practice team at HMC, and they all worked for 15 days straight on moving over 140 Revit projects, not counting individual models, into BIM 360. So now that we have that, we have actually applied that into a different workflow to migrate older projects into the cloud system, and I can talk about that a little bit further down in this conversation. But that was kind of like our tipping point into, trying to find better solutions for our groups that will really have them focus on their design and architecture and not worry too much about, making sure that things print and collating and stamping and doing all these other things that teams would have to do. A pencils down, do the printing for a day, collate everything, and then post. This kind of has reduced that, so people put pencils down, they go have, enjoy time with their families, and when they come back, the prints are there and everything's ready to go. So that's one of the reasons why we decided to go in this direction. And one of the newer projects that we're doing is upgrading old projects from projects that are older than Revit 2017 all the way up to Revit 2020. And through this process, we're moving everybody that's still trying to connect through VPN to the servers in the different offices into moving everything to the cloud. So we are using these automations to upgrade the files and then move them into the cloud. And it has reduced that tasks that people would not even think about doing because of the time that it took to do it. So now we're able to automate that process, something that would take days or weeks to do. We're able to do that for like right now we have probably about 20 projects completed with multiple files updated into 2020 and in the cloud already. So that has really made our teams more productive, less loss of data, loss of time also from our professionals. So that has been really helpful, in addition to, posting and printing and exporting files into different platforms, like bringing the Revit models out into Navisworks type files. So it has been a really good experience for our digital practice team to be able to help teams a lot faster. So the adoption and the implementation of this, we contacted Mark at IMAGINiT in March. We acquired additional products to support our firm as we were transitioning to work from home. And through that process, we also had a conversation about, IMAGINiT and bringing that into our systems and making it part of our tool set. So in the adoption process, we relied on a dedicated team member, Tadej Hakopian, with our digital practice group. He made sure that everything that on our end was working. So he worked with our IT department to get all of the stations ready for the deployment. He managed conversations between Mark and Joe and our group as well. He was able to get everybody in our group trained with the support from Joe and his team. And we were able to bring everybody up to speed on how to use the application. And that was what's pivotal to making sure that everything worked across all of our systems. Again, because we're all working remotely. So we set up all the backend and back of house stuff, and we were able to train the administrators, train the super users, and then do a launch training for the entire firm. Tade Hakopian continues to support the firm and continues to work with individuals across all of our studios to make sure that Clarity is being used in all the projects that we have across the firm. So adoption has been very successful in our company. We started, I believe the full launch was, I think it was completed in June or July, and at the end of 2020, we had already saved over 300 hours of downtime or time that would have been spent. There's actually a multiplier to the savings because we heard from one of our users in our Phoenix office that the task was actually taking him longer than what Clarity had actually assigned the number of hours to that. So we're trying to identify what those multipliers are to make sure that we are really showing the return on investment for Clarity within HMC. So how are we planning to expand some of these offerings that Clarity has, and recommendations on how a firm can improve the use of the application. So what HMC really recommends is to have a dedicated champion to manage the adoption process. Without Tade, we would not have been able to achieve that gain of, I think today we're about 400 hours of hours not spent on doing, things that can be automated. Planning your outcomes. We understood that gaining any tool that digital practice adopts is driven to provide an end or to provide a service for our company. And so providing those outcomes and making those clear. For example, we wanted to reduce the amount of time that people were spending on printing, and be able to give them that break and do not print anymore, use the application. Empowering our users to be able to understand how to use the tools and leverage them in new ways. There's been a lot of people that have been exploring how to use the tools a little bit different, and we find that is super useful because our group doesn't have all the answers all the time. So it is important to hear the feedback from the users on what is working and not working. So having a person that's dedicated to manage the adoption process, somebody that can guide the rest of the users in the company and are dedicated leaders for Clarity, it has been, we would not be able to do it without those things that we set up. So that is our recommendation for anybody that's trying to look into an application like Clarity. And we just scratched the surface on this. We haven't really used some of the other abilities that it has, like the data management side of things and the warnings that it creates, because we're just trying to focus right now on the automations and getting those done right and making sure that we have all the assets for that. Tade spent a great deal of time making sure that all our machines were working, that the automations were working properly, giving feedback to Joe and his team and Mark about how it's working. We continue to work with IMAGINiT, Clarity's team, and giving them feedback on what we see the future of the application moving towards, and how we want to see the adoption or the changes that we want to see for the tool. So it's been a really good experience working with a group of people like Mark and Joe and all the support that they've been able to provide. It's been really important to be able to launch the tool and use it to its fullest. Thank you.
Thank you, Nancy. That was extraordinarily informative. Now, I would like to remind you all that today's webinar was part 2 of our 3-part webinar series. We will be back here again next Thursday, March 11th, to learn how TK1SC enables project delivery and collaboration with Clarity. If you have not registered for these events already, you can do so on our website, IMAGINiT.com, under the Resources tab and Events. That concludes our webinar. Thank you, everyone.